So the lights go out and the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship gets underway, and it's a good start from Charles Shelbourne, so that strategy worked well. Darren Ransom pops in underneath him on the run up towards paddock. Kingsbury to the outside. Chris Lawrence tries to go with him. Kingsbury probably more regular racer at the front in these types of cars, so he's trying to go around the outside of Darren Ransom, braking late. Mark Enoch going well in the first of the 182s. He's gained possibly a couple of spots as he shuffles his way alongside Justin Griffiths, and now Kingsbury up the inside into Graham Hill Bend, but Darren Ransom gets the car turned in, and Kingsbury's going to have to work a bit harder if he's going to get second. This is all allowing Charles Shelbourne up front to pull clear in the lead, still side by side for second place. So I think Jack Kingsbury should grab it. But maybe not, because Ransom's still on the inside line. He's not going to give up his first chance of a podium position easily. He's still on the inside, and Kingsbury, if anything, may lose out to Chris Lawrence, who's alongside.
He may well, and the car that's in behind them, the white and blue car, that got a little bit sideways in the middle of Paddock Hill Bend, but fought back well, and that is the car of Griffiths, isn't it?
That's right.
So through they go, but Shelbourne's scarpered.
Yeah, Darren Ransom's fighting so hard to hang on to second, which he's successfully done. Has meant that Charles Shelbourne's 1.8 seconds up the road. Chris Lawrence has possibly got the better of Jack Kingsbury out on the outside line in that livery that's sort of a replica of Alan Menyu's 1997 championship win in Laguna with the yellow and blue. He's ahead of Kingsbury through Graham Hill Bend, but by the time they get to Surtees, Kingsbury's back on the inside to get third place back. Last year's Class B champion versus last year's Class A champion, but both in the same car for the first time this year, with Justin Griffiths, who's fighting along with them there in fifth spot. So they're all still in the same order, the top five, as they were at the start of the lap, despite a few position changes during the course of lap 2. But Charles Shelbourne pulling clear. He's 2.1 seconds ahead of Darren Ransom.
Yeah, that's a handsome advantage to have at this stage of the race. Looking to see where Anos is in that first of the smaller cars.
Well, he's got Pete O'Connor on his inside in another Class A car.
Yeah,
O'Connor's going to go through.
He's lost that, and he's about to lose second place as well, I reckon, because 31 is up there too, and that is Chris Page.
Around the outside at Graham Hill Bend, and he's gone into second. He might lose another one, Enoch, here, because Steve Richardson's up the grass on the inside line into Surtees in 7, and he goes through. So Enoch, who was leading 2 corners ago, is down to 4th in the class, but he fights back immediately on the inside line into Clearways, and that potentially didn't go to plan, because Josh North is coming through now in the 10 car, but no, North can't quite make it. So Enoch's dropped to 4th for now. Meanwhile, Darren Ransom's just set the aimshop.com fastest lap of the race, a 57.119. Ransom, who's not been on the podium before, he's not finished in the top 5 in a race before, is chasing the race leader. This is a great overhaul of his pace since last year. Meanwhile, up at Druids, Josh North has Sonny White's car trying to go around the outside, but he ran a little bit too wide, I think. Paul Clark behind, who took his first ever circuit racing victory last weekend in low cost at Croft, and set a new lap record there too. Meanwhile, Chris Lawrence versus Justin Griffiths for what is third position, because Griffiths is ahead of Kingsbury. Jack Kingsbury just started to fade away a little bit, perhaps surprisingly, last year's B champion. And now Griffiths has got good pace in that Hustle Motorsport Clio 200, as Marcus made reference to earlier. Slightly different car to the 197, but similar enough. And he's just set the fastest lap. He's the first man in the 56s. The aimshop.com fastest lap is a 56.989.
Yeah, that's Justin Griffiths, isn't it? Yes, in that. I can see now, yes, that's it's slightly different, isn't it, to look at? Not a great deal of difference, but the front is the giveaway.
Griffiths is planning to build a V6 Clio for hot hatch for the future.
That will be cool.
But I think he's been moving house over the winter and still in that process. So that means building new race cars is put on the back burner for a little while. But he's still got his Clio 200 here, which means he is fighting Chris Lawrence. What is third? at the moment. Meanwhile, Shelbourne to Ransom. It's coming down by about a tenth a lap. It's 1.7 seconds at the moment. There's still 2/3 of the race to go. And Lawrence and Griffiths up the curb for Chris Lawrence in true Renault Clio fashion, taking that line. Then Kingsbury there just dropping away in 5th. Nick Lawrence 6th. Then the first of the A's, which is Peter O'Connor. He's now a 2nd ahead of Chris Page and then Stephen Richardson. Mark Enoch, the fast starter, very much fading away now in 10th position.
Yeah, that Hustle Motorsport 200 looks to sit well on the circuit. And he's tucked in behind Chris Lawrence.
Yeah, well, Griffiths, aerospace engineer, he was telling me a few decades ago or so, he was making propellers for Spitfires when they were being, the ones that were being restored and such like. Oh, and a bump into the back of Enoch, who might have missed a gear or something. That was Josh North, who then clipped the back of him, which has damaged the pair of them and slowed them up, and Sonny White has passed the pair. I think that was an error. Firstly, perhaps a gear change for Enoch, and then North just didn't notice what was happening.
You can see the damaged bumper now bearing testament to the back of Enoch. So there's Griffiths up the inside of Lawrence into Druids. So that's Justin Griffiths up into 3rd place.
Yeah, it's a 2010 car, the Clio 200, that he drives. The driver from Shropshire. He finished 2nd in the championship 2 years ago when there were not so many 197 200s on the grid. Former rally driver a couple of decades ago, but it's been circuit racing now for 6 or 7 years. Meanwhile, 7 laps are being completed, some more challenges. So Enoch's back up to speed, so I presume it was just a gear change. And Josh North with that damaged front bumper now has got Paul Clark coming around the outside of him through Clark Curve. So Clarkey going for 12th overall on that outside line for Paddock. The lorry driver from Southampton, Paul Clark, slots in back behind Josh North, the driver from Shropshire in his 2nd season of racing. Behind them, Brian Craven in a new car to him in the ex-Benz Swift 197 that went well here a year ago, and also involved in that battle car 12. That is Matt Hipkins, another of the new drivers in the championship this weekend. Number of newbies in the Clio Sport Championship this weekend, which is good to see. Fastest lap 56.9, still with Griffiths, or it was until Darren Ransom went through, set the fastest lap 56.824. Then that was battered by Justin Griffiths again, 56.787, the new aimshop.com fastest lap of the race. And that means Charles Shelbourne, who's had this comfortable margin all race long with half of the race to go, he's gapped down to 1.4 seconds, despite him doing a personal best last time. Meanwhile, the battles a bit further down the order continue. Brian Craven and Matt Hipkins, and then just behind them, 14, which is Jack McConnell, the driver from Belfast. Although he's based in Milton Keynes nowadays. A multiple podium finisher in the British Karting Championship, former Irish Karting Champion back in 2016 and 2 in the car that Spencer Stevenson raced a couple of seasons ago. So that's Jack McConnell at the back of this group in 16th spot, chasing after Matt Hipkins and Brian Craven. Lead gap's been halved. It's 7/10 of a second all of a sudden. So Charles Shelbourne, who's hasn't been under threat, a slower last lap. Here he is for the first time really under pressure in this race, with the more experienced Darren Ransom and Justin Griffiths behind, and then the 2 champions from last year, 4th and 5th, struggling to live with the pace with the 2 in front.
That's interesting, isn't it? They've sort of found themselves shuffled back, but there's the top 3.
Blue flags go out to number 11, who's about to be lapped. David Redshaw, another newcomer, on what is lap 10 of the race. So there's Redshaw. They've already lapped Chloe Daly, who's in 19th. Shelbourne up the inside of the lapped car. And on this lap, Marcus hasn't lost any time like he did a lap ago. No,
this looks like a better lap from him. Does it reflect in his lap time? It's a PB, isn't it? Personal best. And it stretched the advantage.
Another car to lap is Matthew Poncia, who's been building his car up over the winter. He is a former motorcycle racer. Change for fourth. Chris Lawrence has got himself, has lost a place to Jack Kingsbury. So Kingsbury, the B champion from last year, goes ahead of the A champion from last year in a new car, Chris Lawrence, the driver from Lincolnshire. Experience Carter before that. So they've put a lap on Redshaw 2. Meanwhile, in Class A, Stephen Richardson up to second. He's ahead of Chris Page and just 4/10 of a second behind Peter O'Connor. So good battles in both of the classes today. There's a third of the race to go, and we're about to complete lap 11 with Charles Shelbourne still looking for his first victory in the championship, who is now 9/10 ahead. So he's pulling clear once more. Meanwhile, there's a mechanical warning flag going out to one car. Not sure as to whom that may be, but that was being handed out manually. And there's a car potentially for the pit lane, is there? Yes, the car, Mark Enoch. That may be the car that had the mechanical flag, the former Class A leader, number 13, Mark Enoch, for the pit lane. Meanwhile, here's the Class A battle, nose to tail into the Druids hairpin. The former BMW racer, Peter O'Connor, ahead of the returning Stephen Richardson. Stephen's son Lewis raced in this car last year, but he's back in the car, Steve, this year. The window cleaner from Milton Keynes. And he's going for a class win, which I don't think he's had before, right on the tail of Pete O'Connor as they turn through 30s.
Yeah, two drivers have had a warning flag, 17 being one of them, and that is Sonny White. The other being number 30, second place man Darren Ransom. That'll be for track limits, I suspect. Here's a good tussle going on.
Yeah, this is the Class A leaders, the 182 leaders, and Stephen Richardson pulls out of the tow, looks to the left-hand side of the circuit. Pete O'Connor defending. And is that going to mean O'Connor runs a little wide, Marcus?
Fractionally, they carry good speed through there, and of course they've got the two cars ahead of them, which blocks the way of number 7 up the outside, which is Richardson. But the first one capitulates, the first of the lap runners, so the Fuse Metrics car coming down the outside. It's not going to work there at Graham Hill Bend. But he gets a good exit, and he's now right on the back bumper, literally, of O'Connor.
Richardson was right up the curb as well, as was O'Connor actually at Graham Hill Bend. O'Connor's hanging on, but a much tighter line taken at Clearways. We know from the previous race that doesn't always work well on the exit of the corner. So does that mean that Steve Richardson can have a go into Paddock Hill Bend? Again, he's right on the bumper. He's so close to the back of O'Connor's car you can hardly see it until he pops out of the tow. Up on the outside line into Paddock. The car skitter on the brakes and they turn right through Paddock Hill Bend.
And it pogos with the inside rear wheel off the deck.
And then they are mirror to mirror. They're hitting mirrored. Richardson's very late on the brakes for Druid and he's just going to run out of road. So Pete O'Connor hangs on.
Folded both mirrors in on the way up to Druids.
And Richardson noticed that immediately, looked left at the last moment because he knows O'Connor can't see what's happening in his left-hand side door mirror. Equally, if Richardson gets ahead, he won't know what's going on in his right-hand side door mirror. But the battle for the lead of the class is pretty epic at this stage, with two drivers that haven't won before as far as I believe. They've both had podiums, but not class wins. Similar thing going on out front as well. But a bigger gap there between Shelbourne and Ransom of a second. It's far less than that between the two Class A cars. Pete O'Connor again having to defend into Paddock. There's 2 laps to go and diving up the inside Richardson. A massively committed move and he goes through. I think he had to let Pete O'Connor deal with whatever was coming there. If O'Connor turned in, there would certainly have been contact. But Steve Richardson is through. He's now the leader of the Class A cars.
Yes, that was extremely committed, and the Fuse Metrics car goes ahead in its class.
He's just put a few car lengths between himself and Pete O'Connor. Meanwhile, up front, Charles Shelbourne and Darren Ransom, similar gap, but Justin Griffiths has fallen away into the clutches of Jack Kingsbury. Once more, interesting how the race, and now Kingsbury round the outside there through Clark Curve for 3rd position. 1 lap to go. Top 2 is a second between them, but it's side by side, yeah, for 3rd. With Kingsbury on the outside, is Griffiths going to fight back here on the tighter inside line. Kingsbury just a little slide as he turned the car in, but that's okay. He was able to save that. He is through, as Marcus said, into 3rd spot.
You can see that coming, and up comes Lawrence round the outside, and he's attacking Griffiths again.
Yeah, great racing. This is a great start to the afternoon. The Civics and the Clios have proved you can overtake around Brands Hatch in single make racing. Two great races we've had here. But for Charles Shelbourne, I'm not sure he's had a podium before, but he's about to win, it seems, the opening round of the K-Tec Clio Sport Championship, and a penalty for Ransom. Darren Ransom's been given a 5-second penalty for track limits. Marcus suggested that, so Shelbourne, his winning margin is going to be pretty large as he comes up across the line. Then zone 48, Charles Shelbourne wins for the first time in the K-Tec Racing Clio Sport Championship. I don't think Darren Ransom's 5 seconds ahead of those behind, so he's going to miss out on a podium. Jack Kingsbury takes second in the classified order. Third for Justin Griffiths. Fourth for Chris Lawrence. Darren Ransom dropped to the sixth. And for Class A, it's pretty much side by side across the line. Steve Richardson hangs on. It was less than 3 tenths, though. Perhaps not quite as close as it first looked. But Steve Richardson, a winner for the first time as well. But in the Class A element of the race by a much smaller margin, with Pete O'Connor second. And Chris Page, his first podium, I think, there in third position. So lots of new there with 2 new winners, new podium finishers as well, but some bad luck for Darren Ransom.
Yes, he gets bumped to 5th and all of that.
Just going to have a look where, let's have a look at the results first of all, as they come up on our screen now. So number 48, Charles Shelbourne, the race winner. He did get 1 podium last year, but that's his first victory. Second is car number 3, Jack Kingsbury, and third, 55, Justin Griffiths. Fourth was Chris Lawrence. Darren Ransom, with that 5-second penalty, drops to 5th. Nick Harrison was 6th. Steve Richardson wins Class A, the Clio 182s, by less than 3 tenths from Pete O'Connor, and Chris Page on the podium there too. Sonny White was 10th, with Josh North 11th, and Paul Clark 12th. Matt Hipkins and Jack McConnell, 2 newcomers, complete the first page of results. And we move into page 2. We find Brian Craven, the last guy on the lead lap, and then some newcomers a lap down. Matthew Poncia, David Redshaw and Chloe Daly, with Mark Enoch, the one retirement after that contact we saw when perhaps he missed a gear or something like that up at Clearways. But yeah, Charles Shelbourne's had that 1 podium last year, which came at Croft. But although he wasn't the fastest driver in the race, Marcus, he had a very dominant performance, was never really under pressure from Jack Kingsbury. And I think we're going to hear from those drivers in a few moments with Kieran.
Another fantastically exciting race for the Clio Cup, and we've got our top 3 here and also our Class A winner and our Class B winner, so we'll try and take a bit of a chat with them all. So firstly we'll go and chat to Stephen Richardson. Fantastic race there, congratulations. Class A winner, how was it?
Oh mate, I've got to put it in first from the start. I've been off for a year, and then I was just, oh my days. Babe, happy anniversary, and this is for you, darling, and Oliver Wade as well. But no, absolutely fantastic, mate. A year off, I just can't believe it. I mean, I kind of was just, yeah, it was brutal, but I knew he lost his tyres, so I just had to be patient. He was good on some of the braking things, but obviously I've been watching racing my life, so a bit wisey to some of it all and out there else. But this would be a first ever win, mate, after 5 years. And big thanks to Fuse Matrix, Millington's Home Removals, and Beanie Sport have been amazing as well. So yeah, I can't, mate, I'm choked up, kids. You're going to have to go somewhere else.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Everybody,
really, congratulations, really. Well, we'll let you have your moment then. Cheers. Thank you very much. And yes, we'll come and chat to Charles Shelbourne, overall race winner and Class B winner. Congratulations. You had to fight for it, but how was it?
Yeah, really good, to be fair. A bit daunting on pole, but got away clean, and a bit lonely at the front, but yeah, I did enjoy it. Nice to have a win after all this time.
Absolutely. And how did you find the track conditions? Obviously, this morning when you did your qualifying, it was a bit damp. How is it this afternoon?
This morning, to be fair, I found them pretty decent. Didn't struggle, put in some good laps, and then just managed to get our pole on the last lap with 4 seconds to go. So a bit sketchy, but yeah, like I say, put us in first for the race, got away clean, and a good result.
And this is your first ever win?
First ever win, yeah, and first ever pole.
Well, congratulations. We've got to...
So yeah, it's nice to get one, to be fair. It's nice to win something.
Absolutely. Well, we'll go first ever Class A winner, first ever Class B winner. Congratulations. And we'll head back to production. First, we've got a quick advert, and then coming up afterwards, we've got some more racing. Don't go anywhere.